What is the function of the radial nerve in one word? The answer is extension. It extends in the elbow, extend in the wrist, and the last one is extend in the fingers. So the first questions: what are the muscles that are extending the elbow? As you can see here, two muscles, triceps and anconeus, and they're both innervated by the radial nerve. So that's a triceps extending the elbow. And this is anconeus, also helps in extending the elbow, plus gives stability to the elbow joint. Muscles that help in the wrist extension, as you can see here, innervated by the radial nerve. So we have three muscles that will work on the carpal or next to the carpal bones where the wrist is. And of course the function is extension, that's why they all begin with extensor. Extensor carpi, because it's the carpal bone, the carpal bone of the wrist. And the first one is radialis longus, radialis brevis, and there is extensor carpi ulnaris. They are all innervated by the radial nerve. And the last question is, what are the muscles that are extending the digits and innervated by the radial nerve? So here is how I remember it. This is thumb, and this is pinky or small finger, and then we have the index, and then we have these two digits. So it extends the thumb, and the thumb in Latin means pollicis. So extensor pollicis, and extend the index alone. So the muscle is called extensor indicis, because in Latin index means indices, and the small finger or the pinky finger in Latin means digiti minimi, that's why it's called extensor digiti minimi. And of course you can move four fingers all together due to the action of a muscle which is called extensor digitorum. So that's extensor digitorum, and this one goes to the thumb, that's why extensor pollicis, and because it's very far away up to here in the distal phalanges, that's why it's called longus. However, this one is in the middle phalanx, or proximal phalanx, that's why it's called extensor pollicis brevis. Brevis means short, longus means long, and this one goes to the pinky finger alone, extensor digiti minimi, and this one goes to the index, that's why it's called indices, extensor indices. So all these muscles are innervated by the radial nerve. So at the elbow, the radial nerve innervate two muscles to extend the elbow, and at the wrist innervate three muscles to extend the wrist, and at the digit innervate four muscles, and these are the thumb, the fourth digits, the small digit, and the index. Unfortunately, there is a typical rule to the radial artery, to the radial nerve. It also helps in flexion of the elbow and abduction of the thumb and supination. Brachioradialis is innervated by the radial nerve, and it helps in the elbow flexion. Probably it's easy to remember this muscle, brachioradialis, because radialis reminds you of the radial nerve. For the abduction of the thumb, the muscle is abductor pollicis longus. Be careful, it's the longus, not the brevis. So this is abductor pollicis brevis, and this is abductor pollicis longus. This is innervated by a different nerve. We will talk about that later. We're talking about the longus, and it's kind of easy because the radial nerve travels through this region. And the last muscle is responsible for supination. So in the body we have two actions, pronation and supination. The supination is when you bring your hand like this, as if you are making soup. That's why it's called supination. So as we can see, he's supinating, and that's a muscle, supinator. When it contracts, it brings the hand in a supination mode. So all these muscles I mentioned are innervated by the radial nerve. Probably one last thing I have to mention, the radial nerve at the region of the elbow, it will give a branch, as you can see here, a small branch. This branch is called posterior interosseous branch. So some of these muscles are innervated by the radial nerve, the main radial nerve itself, and some of these muscles are innervated by the small branch which comes out of the radial nerve. It's still part of the radial nerve, so don't worry. So the muscles which are innervated by the main radial nerve, which is this one, are the triceps, anconeus, brachioradialis, and extensor carpi radialis. And the rest of the muscles I mentioned are innervated by the posterior interosseous branch.